Hey, welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to store bulk food items. I'm Hope from Under the Median. Are you stocking or restocking your pantry shelves with long-term shelf-stable items like oats, rice, beans, things like that? We are too. In fact, we just got back last weekend from a bulk food shopping extravaganza. In fact, I showed you in an earlier video exactly what we bought on that shopping trip. I'll link it in the description of this video so you can head over and watch that video as well. And also, if you look up above, there'll be a link up there where you can head over to that video after you're done with this one. When it comes to shelf-stable items, it's just like hunting for a house. Location, location, location. How many times have you heard that? Well, actually, it's true in this case too. You want to look for a location in your house that is dry and has a relatively stable humidity throughout the whole year. That will give you the best possibility of keeping things fresh longer on your pantry shelves. Now, before I go into 4 different methods that I use to actually store the items once we get them home, we need to talk about something kind of yucky. Bugs. Now, if you buy stuff in small quantities from the grocery store, normally this just isn't an issue. But I will tell you from experience that when you're buying 25 or 50-pound bags of items, sometimes the fact is there are hitchhikers that come along with that shelf-stable items and they come into your home. So actually there's a really quick and easy way that you can deal with possible larvae or eggs or actually insects that might be hiding away in these food products. You can actually do one of 2 things. You can take the whole bag. If you have a large freezer, then you can take the whole bag, stick it in the freezer in the deep freeze. This temperature needs to be 0 or below, and leave it in there for 72 hours, 3 days, and then just pull it back out, and that will effectively kill anything that may have made its way inadvertently into your home from buying bulk foods. The other way that you can deal with it, if you just don't have that much room in your freezer, is to divide the larger bag up into smaller quantities in freezer bags and then rotate through those freezer bags, leaving what you can get in your freezer 72 hours, pull those out and then move them to longer term storage, and then just keep rotating through until you have gotten all of the bags into the freezer for 72 hours. Now, how do you store all of this food? It looks a little overwhelming, but trust me, I've done this for over 20 years. It can be done, and it really does not take that much time, and it's not that hard. There are 4 main methods that I use in order to store these items on my pantry shelves. The first one I love because it's recycled glass containers. Who doesn't like recycling things, right? Because if you get them from friends and family members, they cost you 0, which is actually the perfect price point, right? Here's my example. This is, of course, an old Vlasic pickle jar. We buy these from Sam's all the time. Now, as you might imagine with a pickle jar, the big disadvantage is what? Odor, because pickles smell really strong. Here's what you need to know. Glass does not really absorb odors, but this lid, it will absorb odors. So if you've washed it in hot soapy water and let it dry and you're still smelling kind of a pickle residue smell, it's probably most likely almost entirely in the lid and not too much in the glass. But you can take care of both possibilities very quickly and easily. You want to take equal parts of water and baking soda and make kind of a paste. Then you're going to take that paste and rub it all over the inside of the jar and the lid. Put the lid on the jar and let it sit for 24 hours. Then open it, wash it with hot soapy water, dry it, and you shouldn't smell any more pickle residue. If you're going to use the jar right away, you're done and you're ready to go. If it's going to be a while before you actually fill this jar with something, here's a trick that I have used for years and it works every time. Did you know that newspaper is the perfect way to absorb excess odors? That's right. I take a single sheet of newspaper, crumple it up, stick it into the jar, put the lid on, and then leave it. When you're ready to use this jar, all you have to do is take the newspaper out, throw the newspaper away because it will have done its job and it will actually smell like pickles. If there's only any pickle residue left in the jar, your newspaper is now going to smell like pickles because it's absorbed those odors. Throw your newspaper out, go ahead, give this a quick wash and dry with warm soapy water, and you're ready to go. And I actually use half-gallon jars in my kitchen all the time. I have a special shelf that I take all kinds of items that I store in my pantry that are large quantities of items that I use all the time, like rice and beans and oats, and I transfer those to those half-gallon jars, line them up on a shelf. They look really pretty on the shelf, and it reminds you to use what you actually have, because it's a great way to remind yourself, oh, I have these things and I need to make sure that I am using them. Here's the second way that I store these items once I get them home. Rubbermaid or Tupperware, it works great. You want to get the ones, this is a little heavier lid. So when you go looking, some of the Rubbermaid containers, the lids are not quite as thick and they don't seal quite as well. So go ahead and take the lid and give it a try like when you're in the store to see how well it's going to seal. This seals more like the old-fashioned Tupperware. Did you hear that? Yeah, that lid is not coming off of there. The advantage of these is they're actually pretty big cup size. I would use this like for oats. And they're see-through, so you can see exactly what is in here and how much is in here. So I really like these kinds of containers. You can also get containers that are see-through and they're heavy-duty plastic. They have plastic handles on the side that are molded onto the plastic container. You can order them from Amazon, and I'll put a link to that product in the description of this video. Those are great. The thing you have to understand about those containers is you can get them anywhere from 2 to 22 cups. And so they go up to a fairly large size. They're great because they stack on top of each other very nicely in your pantry space. They don't come with the lids. So you have to know, I got to order the lids separately. But they are very durable. They're see-through, and they actually have markings on the side, cup markings that you'll be able to look at and see like how many cups of that product you have left in the bin. So those actually are very, very nice too for long-term storage. Here's the third thing that I use for storage. These are 5-gallon buckets, and these are absolutely made for longer term storage. Restaurants use these all the time, but they are available to consumers. Amazon sells them, and I have a link in the description of this video. But you can also Google restaurant supply stores near me, and restaurant supply stores will oftentimes have these, and they'll have them for sale. So that's another place that you can check. But I'm going to take the lid off and I'm going to see if I can show you. There's a heavy-duty rubber grommet in this little concave area here. That rubber grommet keeps this completely sealed. You can either, if your bucket is clean, this one's clean, we have about 8 or 10 of these. If it's completely clean, it's dried, it's disinfected, you can go ahead and open one of these larger containers of millet or wheat or beans and just throw the whole thing into the bucket, seal it, and you're done. I generally don't do that. Sometimes I've done that when I just don't feel like I have time to repackage, but if I have time, I do like to go ahead and repackage in 1 or 2 gallon storage bags, and then go ahead and put the bags in here and seal this container. The reason I like to do that is because my storage is in the basement, but my kitchen I cook in all the time is upstairs. So it makes it easier to just reach it, unseal this, reach in, grab a 2-gallon bag of whatever is in here and take it back up to the kitchen. So it's merely for convenience, for my sake, that I really like using the extra bagging before I put it in here. But these are food grade buckets, so you can go ahead and put it right in here. And while I'm thinking about it, I want to show you really quickly, using this millet as my example, how easy it is to open these bags. If you look on one end, there's actually like a zipper. And if you pull this, just pull, 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 that comes right off and it's open. That's how easy it is. You need to look at the part of the bag that has that stitching though, because we have actually inadvertently a time or 2 or 10 opened the bottom of the bag and just grabbed a knife and like ripped that baby open using a knife. But it's so much easier if you actually do it the way that it's designed to open. Now, here's one more tool you want to know for these buckets. Once these babies seal, they are sealed. I have kept wheat kernels in these buckets for years at a time with absolutely no problem whatsoever with spoilage or with it smelling musty. But once the lid is on, it is really hard to get off unless you got a whole lot of brute strength behind you. This is a simple tool that you can buy. Once again, I will link it on Amazon for you down below in the description. It just looks like, do you remember those old-fashioned like can openers? I do, from when I was a kid. It goes on the edge of this. Here, I'll put it here so you can see. Literally, it goes under the edge, and this applies pressure to the top, and you go around and loosen it just like that, and the lid will come off. It's not necessary, but it is really, really handy, and it's really nice to have. If you're gonna go to the time and trouble to order the buckets, spend an extra $7 or $9 and order one of these. You'll thank me later. All right, the final thing that I do to store grains on my pantry shelves are these. Now, I will admit to you that I purchased a number of these a few years back because they just happened to fit absolutely perfectly on my pantry shelves. So I'm not saying you have to get this brand or even this size, but I have them because they work for me. I like them because they're see-through, and so I can put a label, yep, the label's out there, and this is assorted beans. I just literally walked downstairs and pulled it off the pantry shelf to bring it up to show you in the video. So there are assorted beans on here. This seals well. Take it off. Now, I like Rubbermaid. This is Sterilite, so it's not, it's a name brand, but it's not quite as good, in my opinion, as Rubbermaid. But I put items in 1 or 2 gallon plastic bags and make sure that you label it. This is garbanzo beans, of course, even though it's clear what it is. I like to make sure, doubly sure, that everybody knows what they're looking for when I send them to look for something in the pantry, and date it. You'll see these beans were from August 2019. So they've been in my pantry for just about a year. And then these items. Now, the reason that I don't put food directly in here is you need to make certain that your bins are made out of food grade plastic. Not all plastic actually is food grade. So unless it says food grade on it, or you know for sure it is, it's not entirely safe to put food in here, seal it, and then walk away. So because I don't think these are storage bins, but they're not food grade storage bins. So because of that, I go ahead, label it, and put everything in here in individual bags that I know are food storage bags, and then put the lid on and put this on the shelf. And just make sure I stack them so I can, at a glance, I can tell exactly what is in the pantry at all times. Those are the ways, the 4 ways that I store bulk food once I buy it from the bulk food distributor and get it home to my house, and make sure that it stays shelf stable for a long period of time. And I'm going to show you today exactly how to effectively and safely store those goods on those pantry shelves so that they will last as long as possible. That's too long of an intro. Today, I'm going to show you how to store bulk food items that sounded really stupid. I'm going to try that again. Take two.